But that was persistence because I wouldn't leave her alone, even after we got divorced. But
I got a new
If there's
truck.
anything you can take away from Tony is what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to season 2 of the
We're
Entrepreneurial
on
Experience.
season 2.
I know, dude.
let's go.
Dude, my name is Coach Joe. Got Jared Taylor with JT Visuals without the eye, cuz.
There's more than meets the eye.
And just like we promised, awesome guest, Tony DiLillo with Legacy Lawns. What's up, dude? How you doing?
What's up, man? I'm doing awesome. Glad
Yeah?
to be here. It's exciting.
It is.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
And we reconfigured the room. We're branding differently. We have mugs. If you guys want a mug, let us know. If
you want to get mugged, let us know.
Yeah, that. So, awesome. So, guys, this is season 2. We took a little bit of a sabbatical. Actually, a much needed sabbatical. I got a lot of things done at home and spent a lot more time with my wife and my kids. But, I missed the entrepreneur experience just because we've had great conversations. We've had great feedback from all of you listeners. So whether you're watching on YouTube, you're listening on a podcast platform, and now we actually have a guest. We're not just promising it, we're bringing them back. So, hey, Tony, really quick, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Man, I am a born and bred Texan who's a transplant here in the
we're
Kansas
done.
City area.
Texan, we're done. Sorry.
All right, I'm out.
Just joking, man.
No, but man, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been, in the I've been an entrepreneur since I was a little kid, man. Sometimes that word's hard to say, right? The entrepreneur experience, but I've done that since I was a little kid. My dad taught me how to really just propagate plants, sell stuff, and I've just kind of taken it from there. So I've, maybe a tenth of my life I haven't owned a business.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I got a question. This is funny, just to be facetious. Everything you sold, was it legal?
Yes.
Okay.
You did mention Texan, so I just
Okay, so I mean, little bit, right? So Texas is very conservative, and I actually one time, this was when I was growing out of my parents' house, and I always, I propagated plants when I was little, and I love growing things. So I was like, man, I had some friends that smoked weed, and so I was like, give me some of those seeds. And, I grew some weed plants, and I never did anything with them. They got, 3 or 4 feet tall. I was like, I got to get rid of this stuff. And so,
That's hilarious.
But I just want to see that I could actually do it.
That is hilarious. Dude. Okay, now I can't unsee that.
I know.
I
I'm
can't
like,
unsee that. I know you so well. I can't unsee that, dude.
and my brain wants to go to like a related subject, but I'm like, no, don't go there.
Don't go there.
I can't go
This
there.
is not a political
It's not
platform.
Well, it's a personal story.
Oh, well, now I want to know it.
Yeah.
I can't reveal this secret yet.
Shoot,
man.
okay.
I don't know. Like for my side of it, I don't mind, but I don't want to blast it out necessarily. So if you're someone and you know me, then let me know. I'll share it with you confidentially.
Yeah.
Sorry for that tease, but
I'm from California, which I make fun of you for being Texan. I mean, I think you guys can literally make fun of me for being Californian. However,
I feel sorry.
I feel sorry for myself for being there that long. However, marijuana became legal first in California. You guys knew that, right? At least the state made it legal, but federally it was. So there was a huge war between. But yeah. Anyways, so moving on, man. Here's an icebreaker question for you. Are you a coffee guy or a tea guy? I know that's left field, but
Man, it really depends on the temperature, right? So if it's cold, man, I love me a nice hot cup of Joe. Straight black, that's the only way to drink
I
it.
like the name Joe. It's
Yeah.
good. It's good.
Okay.
That's in my honor.
I was like, isn't that what your wife likes?
Cup of Joe.
A hot cup of Joe.
Yeah.
But man, I'm also from the South, so I know you're talking coffee or tea, but I love a big glass of sweet tea. It's either sweet tea or dirty water. It's not like sweet and unsweet, like they say in the Midwest, but no.
Yeah.
And by dirty water, do you mean actually dirt in your water, or do you mean is that some slang for something else?
There's no sugar in it. Then it's just
dirty water.
water.
Okay, I get it. Well, so I got 3 friends that drink tea. Well, first of all, one is my former brother-in-law, Tim. He's from northern Florida, which is the South. I got a good friend from Alabama and a good friend from Louisiana. So guess what they all drink? Sweet tea. I started making a joke that it's liquid diabetes just because of the amount of sugar they put in there.
Oh yeah.
There's like a rule, like, dude, my friend from Louisiana would boil a pot of hot water over the stove with the tea, and then he would take 2 10-pound bags and just put it in there. And I'm like, I tasted it I spit it out. It was just, I'm like, what the heck is this? It's just sweet and nasty.
Yeah. I mean, in all fairness, though, you can do that with like coffee as well.
Well, yeah, but
Like most of the people that say they love coffee actually are just in it for like that sweetness and the sugar, and they can't even drink it black because they don't like that. You know?
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I remember our first 1-to-1. You educated me a little bit about coffee.
I love coffee.
I love coffee. So I guess the question for you is, are you a coffee or a tea guy?
I'm actually a beverage guy. Like
just gotta
anytime,
drink a
like
beverage?
whatever, like anything except for water. Although I do,
The main beverage.
like I was like,
plenty of water and coffee, right?
one time I was like, hey Rose, my wife, I was like, Rose, want some water? And I'm holding up a Coke Zero.
Does she shake her head?
I love water, but I like it when it's good. I cannot stand like regular water from the city and stuff. I can actually tell a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into all the like zero filtering, and then putting the actual good solids that are in there, the dissolved solids.
Yeah.
Putting that back in there, so the trace minerals from like some other place, and it was like the best water ever. But the price was so high to keep up with that.
Yeah.
Man,
So I was
I'm
like,
straight,
oh,
like,
no.
give me the garden hose. Let's go.
Yeah.
I
Well,
grew
when
up
you
in the
need
ghetto,
it,
that's exactly what I did.
I mean, we drink out of the tap all the time, and we have bottled water at our house, but to put in perspective, we've had 2 cases of bottled water in the 5 years that we've lived in our house. Like, that's what we've got, and they're still not both empty.
Yeah.
We just take them occasionally when we like go to a ball game or something. Just need to grab a bottle of water real quick.
Oh yeah.
So
I married a yuppie. So there's
What's
a
that
bottle
mean?
of water. Dude, a yuppie is someone who grew up rich and just, and I love my wife. However, there's bottled waters that are halfway full all over the house, and it drives me nuts.
That reminds me of,
my
like, Church
kids are
World.
Like that. I know. I'm like, oh. But I grew up drinking out of a garden hose and out of the thing too. So honestly, if I ever drink tap water again, it kind of takes me back to when I was a kid, playing outside, asking a neighbor for, hey, do you mind if I just drink out of your garden hose and not get shot while, just.
And then a snake comes out of there, and you're like,
Yeah.
what? Is this the first time we're using this?
That's some good stuff. But
it's like David told us that story today about the snakes coming out of the toilets. So it's like,
that's what.
man, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
oh, that actually happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have
Well,
you seen
from
that TV show Turtle Man?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, he does that.
Dude, that's from Pleasant Hill. I grew up from Pleasant Hill. Everyone there knows.
That show is from Pleasant Hill?
No, I mean just like everyone is like that.
Like
Everyone's
that, yeah.
like that guy.
I mean, they only have 2 teeth and they catch raccoons?
Most people.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm an exception. No, I'm just
Are
kidding.
you
I
from
love Pleasant Hill.
Hill? Anyways, well, look, this is called the entrepreneurial experience for a reason. So let's get into some questions that really divert us into the world of business, because everybody's at a different season in their business, whether they've been in a long time, they just started. And I feel like challenges and victories are different from season to season. It's kind of like what the Bible says, you go from glory to glory. But we forget to say that from one glory to the other, there's a huge valley in between it, right? Like, and you fall through. So I guess the first question I want to ask you, Tony, and then I'm going to ask you this, and maybe we'll just have a conversation, is what is your definition of success?
I think for me, and I haven't achieved it yet by any means. I'm definitely on the road there, but where I can just relax and not be stressed about something, right? So,
Can you, like, just for somebody who's listening, they can't see your facial expressions, like, can you articulate what that looks like for you? Like, what is relaxing for you? Give us a place, a person, a thing. Make it tangible.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm in the green industry, right? So I'm working outdoors or running a business. I've got guys that are working outdoors all the time. And that's really where my focus is, and that's constantly stress on my mind where, last night at 11 o'clock at night, I was like, oh shoot, I got to schedule these jobs and close out these jobs, that kind of thing. Okay. And I couldn't sleep. But for me, I want to be able to spend my time outdoors because I love being outdoors, not because I have to be, because that's what, my customers, clients, rely on. So when I know that I'm not stressed out, I'm outside with my kids planting in our blackberry patch or, working in the garden, that kind of thing. And that's all I'm focused on.
Yeah.
That's when I know, all right, man, I'm successful.
Wow.
So you painted a really good picture there.
Yeah. But my mind goes to this, and I'm not asking this to be facetious, but you could be broke doing that, right? And unemployed. So like, is there another element to, because you said no stress. So like what needs to happen for you to have that lifestyle?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, yeah, you can do those things while you're broke, but then you're still stressing about like everything else that needs to be taken care of, the bills or, food, and I guess I should have elaborated, maybe we're working in the garden while the wife is cooking dinner, because we have plenty of food on the table because the business is running fine and, I'm able to just spend that time with the kids. We come in, eat a nice dinner. We're not stressed about anything from start to finish.
Yeah. There's 2 people that would like to be invited to that dinner, by the way.
Yeah, let's go.
We can just do a podcast at your house over the dinner table.
Hey, I'm down with that, man. I'm
I
Italian.
will work for food. No.
Oh man, that's crazy. I really love that definition, like to do whatever I want without stress.
And when you say stress, do you only mean it in a negative sense, like, or do you like stress in some areas that you come out of it even happier?
I think so, because I think going through growth, right, you bring stress. So, like, what's the definition of stress? When I think of stress, you think of like a balloon, right?
Okay.
It's being blown up, and that rubber is under stress because it's constantly has pressure pushed against it. It's constantly growing and growing and growing. So I think you need that stress to get the balloon to where it's going to be, right? Because you can't use a deflated balloon. But if you put too much stress on that, then the balloon's going to pop. So you really have to,
like too much stress all at once.
Yeah,
like
so
you have to kind of like slowly.
Well, I mean,
into it.
even if it's slow, if that stress is constant and it's continually just going, that balloon at some point, that rubber is going to reach its limit and it's going to blow.
Right.
So I think you need to have enough stress to get to where that balloon is at its peak. Like if you're blowing,
Okay.
So it's the right foot by foot,
Yeah.
space.
I got you.
And it
There
looks
you
like
go.
it's supposed to be. It's inflated how it's supposed to be, and so that stress, you need that stress to get to where you want to be.
And then that's where you find your.
And then you're you can be at peace because you've got where
Yeah.
it needs to be.
I associate that as my seasons of hustle. There are moments I have to call my wife or to have a talk with her and say, hey, so there's a goal that we need to meet. It's a very valid goal. It's something that's going to get us to where we want to get to, but there's going to be a season of us having to just work a little bit harder than what we're used to. That obviously puts a little bit of stress on you. However, I always make it clear this is not going to be constant. This is a push.
Yeah.
So.
And I totally agree with that. I think, Beth and I had the conversation the other night where it's my busy season now, right? We're in the middle of spring and stuff's just going. And we understand like there's going to be times where I'm home later, where I need to get up earlier and do things, or I might not be able to be on the phone as much, that kind of thing. Whereas in the wintertime, I'm there a lot and the kids get used to me being there.
I was getting used to you being at my office all the time too. Like, you're just showing up. I was like, okay, cool. You want to work at a desk? Go ahead.
Yeah, for a minute I was like, did something happen to Tony? Because I don't see him.
Well,
But then I did see you. I was driving by Raymore, and you and your son, you were mowing like by CVS or something.
Yep.
I saw you. I was getting ready to wave out the window, but I was too far up from that stoplight that's over there. I live right close to that. Right behind. Yeah, CVS is the closest store to me.
There you go.
So,
Yeah.
Now I know exactly where you live. There you go.
well, it's probably listed on
Yeah.
some public website. So,
This is where you live.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Jared? Like, what is
What about
based
me?
off of your seasons and your maturity in business? Like, what is success to you now?
I'm going to put one word out there and say resilience. At least right now, what I'm thinking of is anything you can learn from, because for me, there's a lot that I always learn from, and I love being experimental. So if I go into it knowing that things could fail or not come out a certain way, does that mean it's successful or not? And you kind of have to define it before you label it successful.
Yeah.
So it's like the experiment was successful because we got results out of it, and we also got negative results, but that's still success because it produced results.
Yeah.
And then, and for instance, I'm thinking of like that of Social Shorts event. We did an event where we get a bunch of people together and create our own package. Basically, instead of one person taking 8 videos, we had 8 people taking 1 video, which is something really awesome. But as an introductory price, we kind of went under as far as the time involved and everything. So we learned a lot from it. And there was really great results too from it. So, but any of those tweaks that we got to adjust, I didn't think it was anything that would, be labeled as a failure. The only time I think I personally fail is if I don't learn from it. You know what I mean?
So you attribute success as long as you're constantly learning something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's important, because like if you can keep going, it's those are the times that you fail or you fail and then you stop, and so you're just accepting defeat, and with that resilience, you're choosing not to accept that.
Yeah.
And so I think it comes down to that choice, like, man, I messed up today, or this project didn't go how I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you just keep pushing on. We had an irrigation install that we did last week, and it didn't go how I wanted it to go in any aspect. But, man, it was...
Do you need a pat back?
It was with a fellow business owner who I'd built a relationship with before, and we really spent probably the most time I spent on the project was talking to him and just kind of hearing how certain aspects we didn't meet his expectations. And so, like, even though it was a failure, I learned a lot moving forward. One thing I didn't do was set expectations as far as like, say how messy the yard was going to get, things like that. And so I felt like, man, I really got educated during this. And so moving forward, I can communicate better to other customers like, hey, your yard's going to get messy. You're not going to like the product at the end, right? So maybe your yard's kind of nice now, but you're not going to it's going to take some pain to get that yard where it needs to be.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're ripping things up, right?
Yeah. And so then on the flip side...
You have to dig trenches too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And, on the flip side, give it a couple months. Once those trenches heal over and, you've got the sprinkler system operating like it needs to, I mean, you're going to have an awesome carpet of a yard.
Actually, the grass is probably going to grow way better on those trenches because the dirt's soft. And
So it's...
so you hear that? When the grass is greener on the other side, it's probably because... It's been torn up.
And then, I like that. Well, like, this is something that I like to hear because I've been dealing with a lot of clients who are going through a lot of pain in their business. And surprisingly, they're in a season of growth and scaling. And then all these things seem to be falling apart, right? And it reminds me of the quote I heard someone say that, when things fall apart in your business, it's your systems exposing that it needs to be upgraded, right?
Yep.
So, for example... Just taking your example of the irrigation, what if you create systems for your guys to pay attention to certain things to not be as messy, right? Like, hey, when you dig a trench, do it this exact way so that way the dirt doesn't go more than 8 inches on both sides, for example. Or don't walk in blah, blah, blah so you don't get muddy footprints. But then also the system could also be a great way to position your client and say, hey, I want you to know there's certain things that you might not like, and let me help update your expectations about this. So that way we're on the same page. And that could be a systemized approach for every client that you do that for. So like you said, as long as you learn from it and then apply certain things.
True, applying it too.
Right? Yeah. Because, okay, you screw up, great. If you do the Social Shorts again and you do it the exact same way, you're going to get the same exact result. It's like, well, okay, you didn't learn from it and you didn't apply the changes. Same with you. Same with any mistakes I make. So you learn from it, update your systems, and now it's like, okay, now we run our business this way according to modified systems.
Yep. And I think, like for me, we're growing a team, right? And so we're constantly working on our systems. But I think you just kind of made a point to me that a lot of times we update our systems for our team, right? And people coming in. Well, what about like ourselves? So from my perspective, I was the one who talked to the customer about the job. I didn't set those expectations, so I need to adjust the systems not just for my guys, but for myself also, so that I can go back and reference it moving forward.
I just started doing something like that too. But I didn't think of
was
it
really
until just now. Sorry, I
really
got excited because I was like, I did something. No,
I almost got it.
I was like, I got back to the old fashioned like clipboard and like a spreadsheet, and then I write notes and stuff during filming. So like a lot of things have been in my head, but with doing that social shorts, I wanted to prepare more for it and make sure that I'm not missing things.
Yeah.
So I made a kind of like a checklist, but not really. It was like a spreadsheet of like making sure I'm asking these questions. Where's the video going? What are you doing with it? All of these things within it to better position everyone. But now I can hand that to someone else and they can do it.
Right.
So I was doing it for myself first, but then it scales.
For sure. Well, I mean, you're not going to be the salesperson your entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you
Thank
can
God, right?
if you can update those systems down, follow it yourself, you can easily train somebody on it, and then let that position be taken over by somebody more competent. Not as an insult, but we want more competent people in the position so you can actually be in your garden and have that food that your wife is cooking and not, feel stressed out about that. I was talking to my wife this morning. Because it was just hard to get out of bed this morning. For some reason, we've just been really tired lately. I think it's our kids. We have 2 young ones that their sleep schedule's off because they're growing. And I tell her this all the time. I'm like, hey, love, and I'm cuddling with her. I'm like, one day we're going to wake up and say, what do you want to do today? And that's going to just be normal. Like, no care about time, no care about money because we've already built that empire. And we might wake up in a different city, in a different country. What do you want to do today? What do you want? Like,
nice.
That to me
That's
is
cool.
success when I can get there and just look her in the eyes and say, what do you want to do?
I feel like when you set it up,
Yeah.
and then it's called success, because I like sports. I like baseball mostly, but I really like playing it more than watching it on TV. I'd rather be there
on TV, dude.
Yeah, I'd rather be there in person. Football is the best to watch on TV. But anyways, so like defining success, you could think of it as I'm on this baseball team, and then we want to win this World Series. We make it. We lose the World Series. Was that success? No, not based on that definition. But if we come back next year and then we do win, was it success? Maybe not for that year, but we learned from it and then it became success. So it's almost like failure has to be part of success, know?
Well, I like what you said about failure because like we hear so many different terminologies of failure. Like you got to fail your way up to winning.
Fail forward.
Fail forward.
Yeah.
I see this like winning the game is winning the Super Bowl to me, right? Like I always like talking about sports. Like football is a great analogy. The ultimate win is to win the Super Bowl, and if your eye is not on the Super Bowl, then you've already failed. It doesn't matter how many games you win during the regular season. It's really the playoffs and then the Super Bowl, right?
Unless you as a player, which I wouldn't share this, but you as a player, really the success is just playing because you enjoy it and you get paid to do that. Wouldn't that be?
Right.
Like not as a team, though.
I will tell you this. Any high-level athlete that gets recruited to a professional team is going to be extremely competitive. You cannot. You
That's
cannot.
why they're pros.
You cannot get recruited to a professional team without having a spirit of competitiveness.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but do you agree with me on that?
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So, I made it to the NFL, right?
Yeah.
But I know so many people that are friends of mine that made it to a professional team, but they were like the guys that only got paid $1,000 a game just to be there to fill in just in case a fourth string got hurt. Right?
Oh, yeah.
To me, that's not success. It's like, okay, you made it there, but what are you going to do during that to show yourself so that you can make it to, whatever it is. But my point that I was making is success is always the Super Bowl. And you have to be thinking about before the season starts, during the regular season. And it doesn't matter how many games you win well, it does, but like, let's say you lose a few games. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs are our football team. But they lost some stupid games during the regular season. I mean,
They lost to Detroit
They lost to
game of the
Detroit,
season.
and then Detroit started becoming good. They lost to the Raiders. How do you lose to the freaking Raiders, right? Like sorry, Raider fans, if you're out there, I apologize. But how do you lose to that? And they almost lost to the Chargers. Like those are teams based off of the history, you don't lose to them if you're a Super Bowl team. Yeah. But they still made it to the Super Bowl and managed to win a Super Bowl. another one back to back. And so when you heard Patrick Mahomes talk, he's like, we always thought of the Super Bowl. That was our I was always on that prize.
Yeah.
And they had that taste of winning the Super Bowl already. So it was easy for them to think about that. But think about how hard it was during the regular season the first time they won the Super Bowl. Right? They were the underdogs. You know, so you got to think about it like that. Like, success is always keeping my eye on the Super Bowl, which for me, it's waking up every morning in a different city or country and asking my wife, what do you want to do? Right? Having the time and the money to do that. But as I build, will I lose certain games? Absolutely. Am I testing and measuring? Will I make mistakes? Absolutely.
I think this, sorry.
No, you're
but
good.
like vision, right? So having your vision.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. There you go.
I mean, we talked about that this morning at our
Yeah.
B&I leadership meeting, is working on setting a vision.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Bible says, where there is no vision, the people will perish, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been working on that with my team. We have weekly meetings, week in, week out, and the first thing we go over is our vision, and that's something that we put in. How are we going to serve people well and build what we want, put our goals out there, and so you have to keep your eye on that because everything points to that. If you do one thing and you're successful at it, okay, how can you build on that to get closer to your vision? If you do one thing and you fail at it, well, how can you make a correction to get closer to that vision?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it sounds like you're making success is when your vision becomes fruition.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely. And I will tell you this, I have had lots of levels of success because what I'm thinking now is based off of my business maturity. And, there was a point where success was just make $100,000, pay myself for my business $100,000, right? And what that looks like, or take one vacation a year. And now it's evolved into what it is now because I know the possibilities. But I had to fail a little bit. Like, that's why we call it in coaching testing and measuring. You test things and you measure it because you're not 100% sure of what the result is. However, you'll never know if you don't test and measure. And testing and measuring is one of those things, like, you have to know, like, for example, marketing. That's the number one thing we test and measure in a lot of cases, right? Because what works for you as a landscape business may not work for me as a business coach, which may not work for you as a...
Absolutely not. Like,
So-
a lot of things overlap, and sometimes you got to go really macro before you can find a similarity, but then it's all macro, and it's like, it's good, but then how does it really help? Because there's no details. So it's good to test and measure. Actually, like, a really good technique for that is A/B tests. Like, you can literally put up one video and then put up another video, and you put it in a section for A/B tests. You can do it with photos and everything else too. This is digital marketing I'm thinking of. And it'll test to the audiences of which one gets better results, and then it'll report it back to you. So it's literally...
That's what I do with Google
piece of
ads or Facebook ads. Like, we'll design 3 or 4. And then we'll put a little bit of money towards each of them and see what gets the most traffic.
Yeah.
And then it's like, if one's getting the majority of the traffic, then we get rid of all other three, and do that one. If 2 are getting similar, then we'll boost those 2.
That's why I love shooting like with more than one video. Because, like, if you're doing...
I'm like addicted to doing videos with you.
If you're doing one of those quantum social vids, or you're on a podcast or something, like, look at the ones that exploded. Go back to your grid and look at different platforms too. Because, like, what hits on TikTok might not hit on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
And you just kind of analyze why. Why did this one get 10,000? Well, I think this video got 10,000 views because there's a Highland cow in it. And everyone loves those Highland cows right now. And it's in
Is that
snow.
what's trending?
Actually, that was one of my videos.
Maybe I should have maybe you should just do a Highland cow background on one of my reels. And
Yeah.
But what I like about doing a lot of videos, and this is really good for my business, it's branding. I might not get as many comments as I want. I might not even get as many likes as I want. However, I'm going to church, and there's about 600 people that go to my church. Or I'll go to a crowded place, and somebody in Kansas City will recognize me and mention one of my videos. It's actually starting to happen a lot. But in the back of my head, I'm like, fool, just like it and comment then.
Yeah.
But still, that's another story.
Yeah.
However, at church, like, for example, hey, I've been watching your videos. I'm like, oh, great. So you do that business coaching stuff. So it's literally branding me now.
Yeah.
which
Nice.
is great. And I see a lot of landscape people doing that now on YouTube.
Yep.
What's that one brand that everyone mentions?
Is it the SB or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, you should do like one of those time lapses where you're like, cutting
Cleaning
lawns,
everything up and
cleaning
everything.
up. Yeah.
And then do the whole tiny microphone up to your mouth thing, and like it's clipping and everything. Like, this is how I made $100,000 in just 6 months. And then you kind of explain it, and then you let the video just go, and it's like from everyone moving really fast.
Yeah.
Dude, everyone loves ASMR.
I've been watching a lot of those. You know that guy, I think he's in Texas. He goes to like a neighborhood where a lawn is overgrown and asks the
That's
neighbor.
SB Mills. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cleans it up.
Cleans it
Yeah.
up. So, anyways, look, we're going to take a break here really quick, guys, to hear a word from our sponsors. But after this, I would really love to continue this awesome conversation. Kansas City business owners, whether you're a large business, a medium-sized business, or self-employed, I have a great workshop for you to attend on June 14th. This is where a bunch of entrepreneurs come together, learn about business, put a 90-day plan together, and every once in a while, I have a special treat when it comes to guest speakers. This time around, I have David Jackson with Techie, and I have Jared Taylor with JT Visuals Without the I, coming to talk about why branding and marketing is so important for your business, and how you can actually use that to increase leads, increase followers and likes, whatever you're looking for. Here's why you don't want to miss out on this event. First of all, you're going to open network with other entrepreneurs who are like-minded that really want to make their business grow and scale. You're going to get a plan together, and you're going to learn from industry leaders like David Jackson and Jared Taylor. I want you to consider signing up for this event. Go ahead and register, pay for your ticket, and get ready to have a great time with other entrepreneurs and learn how to make your business grow the right way. I look forward to seeing you there June 14th. Stay strong.
If you've been struggling with your social media presence for your brand, or you often say, I should post more on social media, or how many times should I post on social media? What should I post? Then you may be a good fit for what we call quantum social vids. Just imagine 1 to 6 months worth of social media video content for your brand in one session. QSV gets you more eyes on your content and utilizes strategies that helps to bring value back to your audience. If you've ever heard of the phrase out of sight, out of mind, you better believe that's the case for your brand videos and content online as well. With multiple 1-minute vertical videos, not only do you stay on your audience's mind, but you build credibility, which provides value back to your followers, which gives you more followers. Then when you make an ask, it has such a bigger impact than if you were just some billboard social media site. Quantum Social Vid Sessions get you up to 8 videos in one single session. To get started, let's book a free 15-minute discovery call, because I'm really excited to see how Quantum Social Video subscriptions can really help you grow your brand through consistency and strategic video production here in the Kansas City area. Oh, and P.S., we can also use Quantum Social Vids as editing only. We do have editing only plans. So let's book that discovery call.
So, Tony, some of the things that I'm really looking to get into is like your story. I feel like every entrepreneur has a very unique story that has influenced entrepreneurship, because frankly, not everybody goes this route. Most people fail in this route. Most people go crazy and lose everything on the entrepreneurship route. So maybe like give us some insight on what your story is from, you said you were an entrepreneur as a young boy, and what has brought you to this point of just being a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I think it kind of runs in my blood, where my grandfather had a landscaping and masonry business out on Long Island, and my dad worked there. My grandfather, his brothers, and when I was a young age, my dad taught me how to propagate plants. I would start growing those plants, and then I would sell them when my parents would have garage sales. And then propagating is like if you're taking cuttings of plants or even planting seeds and growing them, that kind of thing, splitting up succulents. So you're basically just creating more plants out of plants.
A science
So,
person.
Like
yeah,
a
I mean, I really
botanist
enjoyed.
almost.
It's like an organic biology or something like
Yeah.
that.
So, I mean, and my dad helped develop the Master Gardener program in our county back in '94, and so it kind of just ran in my blood. And he taught me, and I would grow all those plants, and then we'd have these garage sales, and I'd make just as much money, if not more money, than my parents would just from growing my
Nice.
plants, right?
Yeah.
Shoot.
So,
Plants
kinda-
at
Sorry,
garage
Dad.
sale.
yeah, and then we had plum trees and peach trees in our yard, so I'd take those around and I'd sell those to all of our neighbors. I would take our neighbor across the street had a cottonwood tree, and so you get these little bugs that infest the cottonwood trees and the leaves. And so I would take those bugs and collect them, and I would sell. I don't know if they just felt sorry for me, or if maybe I was just
Maybe.
amazing.
The bugs felt sorry for you?
No,
or-
no, the people. Or maybe I was an amazing salesman, but people would buy bugs from
What
me.
do you think it was now that you know what it is?
I was just that cute, But so I did all those things, and then when I was 11 years old, I was mowing lawns, throughout our neighborhood. And a little bit older, my dad would take me around to people's lawns and drop me off, and I'd do landscaping and stuff for him. And then,
I got a song for you.
oh yeah,
Just listen. Yeah, you a hustler, baby? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tony's song. All right. There it is.
yeah. So
I heard hustler in my head. I'm like, oh shoot, there's a song for you right there.
Nice.
So
yeah, so I just kept growing the business. In high school, I got a vehicle, and then the last year of school, I kind of arranged my schedule so that I was done after lunch and just was mowing lawns.
What was your first vehicle?
So F-150, 2002 F-150.
oh, you got a Ford. That's right.
So,
Dang.
but I'm Texan, right? Ford is the best in Texas. So,
Well, they're the cheapest to buy, so they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's another podcast for another time.
so yeah, I just kept growing, and stayed doing that. I went to the local community college, took some business classes, things like that. Did a little bit of college all over the place, learned all sorts of different things, but kept maintaining the business. And I really just enjoyed it. Got some people working for me. I will say, I wasn't super, I guess I wouldn't say I was successful. The business, made money and that kind of thing, and allowed me to, I used to love going to concerts, so I'd work and then go to concerts on the weekends or in the evenings and things. But, I didn't make a whole bunch of money saved up and things like that.
Were you a big spender?
So, yeah, I enjoy spending. I mean, I was
Make
young.
a lot and spend a lot.
Young and single, right? And
Did you look a little handsomer than you do now? I'm just wondering.
probably.
I just okay.
Probably.
Gotcha.
but I mean, I worked hard for my money, and I spent my money hard too. So
Work hard, play hard, baby. That was your concept. Who didn't think that at 19,
19,
right?
20, 21,
Work hard,
yeah.
play
Oh, yeah,
hard.
especially if you're still living with your parents or something, when you didn't have to pay rent and you're like,
Yeah.
why do I need to work? Well,
Yeah.
it's so I can buy this guitar or something,
Yeah. Well, I had a
I
girlfriend.
remember making a lot of money and then just wanted to show people that I made money, so I spent money.
Yeah.
That was the stupidest thing.
Yeah, or to go out to eat all the time,
Yeah,
impress a girl.
Yeah.
Yep. I spent way too much money on women, girls, and that was dumb. I mean, that was right. The big real estate collapse. I graduated in 2006. Big real estate collapse.
Oh,
08,
yeah,
09.
man, you did.
If I had saved my money, man, I could have just house hacked a duplex or something like that and
Yeah.
been way on my way. But I didn't. I was young and dumb, so I was driven but young and dumb.
Together.
So
I was
and-
young and smart, but now I'm old and dumb. I'm just kidding.
How does that happen?
hey, you're hanging out. You're hanging out
it's,
with me.
it's
man.
Benjamin Buttons.
Backwards. But yeah, so I ended up just I moved to Tulsa to go to school, Oral Roberts University. Met my wife there, and
Ooh, talk to us about that. How did that happen?
All right,
So-
yeah, you got to get into that.
oh well.
Well, hold on. Are you watching, Beth? Is there anything that he's allowed to say?
So she wanted nothing to do with me, right? So at ORU, it's a private school and awesome Christian university, but they have wings that are split, right? So they're not co-ed; they're men's wings, women's wings.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And but you have you hang out with your brother or sister wing. So Beth was on the sister wing, and I was on the the brother wing, obviously.
Do they ever flip that
sure.
around?
But so we would hang out as a brother sister wing, go out to like Brahms and get ice cream or frozen yogurt places, things like that, do fun things. And I kept trying to talk her, right? And I'm this dude from Texas. I had this big truck with stacks on it. I mean, we're talking
the black smoke and everything.
yeah,
like that?
F-350, crew cab, long bed. And so I was driving that around, and 6.0, best 6.0 there ever was, man. And for all you truck people, that's the worst engine, that Ford ever came out with. But I had the EGR delete and a bunch of other stuff done to it, so it worked well.
So for those of you, he just spoke Mandarin.
Yeah.
But
okay, truck.
I was like trying to
truck,
impress
gotcha.
her, right? So I'm like telling her all these things and trying to impress her, being loud and boisterous and stuff, and she just wanted nothing to do with me. Okay, every time she'd come in from outside and I'd be going out, hey, what's up, girl? And she was like,
Did you say it like that?
It was something like that, just
Hey, what's up, girl?
Because I'm always trying to be funny,
Okay.
And she was like, yeah, enough of that. So, so finally one day she messaged me.
Hey, what's up, girl?
And, apparently she had a this Mormon boyfriend back home, right? And so I'm like,
Here?
yeah,
In Kansas
back
City?
here, because she grew up in Lee Summit. Originally she was in Tulsa and then grew up in Lee Summit. And so I guess things weren't going right with him. So she just randomly messaged me one day, right? It was one night. It was like, hey, you want to go hang out? And so I found out later, like I had a truck, and that was her way of getting off campus. So
Just
So
she was using you.
Hey, any foot you can get in
Dude,
the door.
I feel like guys, like when it comes to using, like guys and girls, like interpret that differently. Like especially if you're young and you want to hook up with it, it's like use me, whatever you want to do. It's like
So yeah. So I mean, and then we hung out a few times and finally started dating, and at that point they called it wingcest because you had brother sister wing.
Oh man, come on.
dude, that is man.
Yeah.
I
So
went to a Bible college for a while too, and there's some weird things.
Weird
that you
terminology.
just
yeah.
Dude, I went to college. My major was dropout though, like almost immediately. Walked in, nope. Walked out,
yeah, nope.
nope. I mean, it was more like one trimester and like, gone, right?
So yeah, and
All right, so then from there,
so then we ended up, dating, getting married. I remember I was on a mission trip in Guatemala during the summer, and she was like, "Hey, we need to get married."
was she
like,
there too?
No, she wasn't there.
Okay.
But she was just telling me, we were texting back and forth, and I remember I was looking out. We were at this team base, and there was this El Fuego, the
Fire.
out at a volcano outside of Antigua, Guatemala, and I remember talking to her, and she was like, "Yeah, we need to get married when you get back." So we ended up.
You're like, okay, right?
Yeah, so we ended up.
How did you respond to that? Was it a text or a call?
I mean, I was excited, because she was being difficult.
But did you do that whole thing like I should wait?
Oh, it was just
a
text. I mean,
minute
this was
or-
like late at night,
Okay.
and I was like the only one awake. And
Was this the time of bubbles, like when they see that you're writing and then
Yeah.
it goes away?
I don't even. Did I have an iPhone? I guess I did. I had like the original iPhone or something back then.
Damn.
Because that
Well,
was.
you graduated in 06. I remember during our era, we had the flip phones. Like,
Yeah,
that was
the Razors.
The Razors?
The Razors,
Dude,
yes.
the Razors. They made a comeback, but they didn't do so well, right? Like
Yeah,
the Razor.
no.
and Motorola
No,
Razor.
'cause-
I remember those brick phones. The only two games were like
Like the
Tetris
Nokia,
and,
where
yeah,
you
the
hit the
Nokia, Snake, and Tetris. Remember that?
Yep.
Dude, real quick, this is kind of on topic, but it's a good entrepreneur movie. Is to go and watch that Blackberry movie.
Library.
So it's kind of like what we're talking about, and it's the start of and crash of BlackBerry.
Oh, because BlackBerry
It's
should
really
be
cool.
the thing, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that used
and
to
then
be like,
iPhone
dude,
destroyed them.
remember Palm Pilots?
Yep.
Remember, it was huge.
So they
Like,
talk
I used to
about
do
that in
life
it.
insurance and stuff like that, and it's like I had a Palm Pilot that was a phone. I was like, yeah, I could do all my
Yeah.
apps on here, and then
I think with the smartphone, kind of got rid of all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, good recommendation.
let me get into a little bit more of the entrepreneur stuff. So you ended up marrying Beth.
Yep.
You moved to Kansas City, or you stayed in
Well,
Texas?
so we started a business in Tulsa for a while.
Which was?
Tulsa Turf and Irrigation. And so
I don't think he's
same
ever
kind of
left
thing.
irrigation
Yeah.
and landscape and stuff.
So-
Well, the first time I heard it, I was like, "What is that?" So like, what? Like, because I'm not in it at all. I've always rented. I'm a millennial, and I always act like I rent the place instead of own it. You know.
But yeah, so I mean,
You know. You ever heard that? Like, why are you going around acting like a millennial like you rent the place?
Mess everything up and leave it for somebody else to fix, right?
yeah, but got married, lived in Tulsa, and ended up back in. We had our first kid about a year later, and moved up to up here and lived with her parents for a little bit. We were trying to decide what to do, and eventually, I really wanted to go back to Texas and start the business again. And Beth was on board, so we moved to Texas and started the business up again.
So you just kind of did this, huh?
Yeah.
Up and down. Well, there's a lot of in between on that. Let me ask you this: what has been the biggest challenge you've had in business, or maybe a business that challenged you the most, that kind of got your mindset to shift and say, hey, like I need to do things differently? Because from my understanding, a lot of your businesses were kind of ran self-employed, side hustle type, things like that. And now you're running a freaking awesome business. So like what has shifted? Like what major challenge did you experience that got you to say, okay, let's start thinking of this like a business?
Yeah, I think just I guess there had to be a mind shift change, right? Or a mind shift, because they talk about working on the business and not in the business, like Action Coach talks about, working or owning a business, not a job.
Yeah.
And I think that really is a thing, because, when I'm working in the business, or I own a job, they say that funny thing where like, yeah, I quit a 40-hour-a-week job to go work 90 hours a week for myself. That really, and people like brag about that, right? And I used to be one of those people. I was like, hey, I remember I look at some of my old Facebook posts and I'm like, man, I worked 27 hours today, and I'm worn out, and I'm getting back up early tomorrow to work again. And I'm like, man, I was a loser. But
some people are addicted to busy,
Yeah, and
Well, I also find that people don't really like that. They just, in order to make themselves feel better about that, they brag about it.
yeah,
Like I used to brag about how busy I worked, and yeah, man, I'm skipping on my kids' game so I can have a better future for them in the
Someone's got
future.
to make a sacrifice.
It's like, well, what if they never experience that future? What if I never experience that future?
Yeah.
And I used to listen to all those talking heads like, hustle, man, you got to work harder than everybody else. And although there's truth to that, you can also work hard stupidly.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can really work hard stupidly.
Well, I think, like, for me, I want to impact other people's lives. And so I think that's there's two things I think really made a change in my mind shift over the last probably 2 years. One, I want to impact people's lives. I love being able to talk to people. I love doing like presentations, right? And also because I feel like they can be informative and help people learn and be educated. And I want to see people succeed. So,
You're good at it.
Similar
You got
to
some
like
showmanship.
coaching, right? Because that's what we're called to do, is help other people and, make other people disciples. So we're helping to train them up and help them grow. And so I want to do that. But how can I do that if I'm struggling in my business? So I needed my mind shift changed. One, I needed some accountability, right? And so coaching. And then two, I need to start, being smart about how I'm doing things and how I'm encouraging others. And that's not to say I don't still make mistakes. I had one guy who, I didn't follow back up with him right away, right? So I got busy. I was trying to work on some business stuff, and then he basically, like, he's another lawn care guy. He just deleted me off Facebook because I didn't respond to his post right away. I was like, hey, man, I'm sorry. Sometimes I fall, I let people fall through the cracks, and that's something I'm constantly working on. And that's why I have an admin now too. But it's
way to take ownership.
Yeah, I mean,
but I'll say something you haven't said is like, that sounds so third grade.
I'm also trying to, like, how important was that post for him to?
Yeah, well, it was a message, I guess. Like,
a message.
He was trying to connect. He was like, wanted to see how we could like work together.
I saw
because
that
he
you
doesn't
saw
do
it.
irrigation and things like that, and we do irrigation, and he just does lawns. And so because I didn't get back to him, a week later he got upset at me and was like, okay. So, but I mean, like, okay, he has a right to be upset. I don't like how he handled it, but on my part, like, I need to do better too, and I need to, I'm growing and I'm learning those things, and I want to help other business owners learn and grow. I have subs that work with me and have businesses, and I want to see them be successful.
Yeah.
And so I think having a coach keep me accountable, helps me. All right, these are what I need to. This is what I need to focus on. These are the systems and processes I need to put in place. And then I can also encourage others to do the same thing, because I've had lots of other people like, man, you're doing awesome. You're doing great. And, I'm like, yeah, I'm just I'm doing what I need to put stuff in place. The accountability, the perseverance, the having the systems, hiring the right people.
And that's all challenging as it is.
Yeah.
Like each one of those things individually too.
Yeah.
I know you're going through that too, right? Like just all that
Can I be
growth
really
stuff.
honest?
I hope you are.
Well, for the last 20 seconds, I started thinking of something else, because I've been analyzing what you've been sharing, and it's been like persistency is kind of a key common factor that I'm hearing, even like with, even getting your wife, but also getting to where you are with your job. Like, you just kept going, you kept trying. And it reminded me, because I read this verse this morning in Luke where Jesus talks about, like, hey, you got to keep on asking. You got to keep on going.
Pray without ceasing. That one?
It was Luke 11. I could pull it up, but
I'll pull it up. Go ahead.
So basically it's like you don't have anything because you don't ask. Like, you got to ask.
Gotcha.
And there was something I caught in there because it gave like a real world example, almost like a paragraph of a parable. I highlighted it. I could probably, I got to bring it up. This is really good. And I just thought it was like really, it was Luke. Yeah, it's Luke 11. So here, it's verse 9, and it's like, and so I tell you, keep on asking. Wait, that is it. But okay, here's his story. It starts in verse 5, actually. He says, suppose you went to a friend's house at midnight, wanting to borrow 3 loaves of bread. You say to him, a friend of mine has just arrived for a visit, and I have nothing for him to eat. And suppose he calls out from his bedroom, don't bother me, the door is locked for the night, and my family and I are all in bed. I can't help you. And I was thinking of that very personally, because I'm like, how many times in the middle of the night I don't want to be bothered? Even like 10 o'clock. I'm in bed at 10 o'clock. I even have notifications turned off. And
Are you an old guy now?
I am. I'm an old guy. I told you, Benjamin Button. And then he goes, but I tell you this, though he won't do it for friendship's sake, if you keep knocking long enough. Dude, Jesus said this. If you keep knocking,
story now.
yeah, if you keep knocking long enough, he will get up and give you whatever you need because of your shameless persistence. And so I tell you, keep on asking and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, everyone who seeks finds, and to everyone who knocks, the door will be open. So it's just crazy, because I feel like that really fits into what you've been sharing. I don't know if you realize that, but it's like, that is why I actually say keep on keeping on all the time, because persistency is a big deal. And what's funny is that guy that's outside knocking all the time, he's like, just keep on knocking, just keep on knocking. He'll try to...
He'll give you a bread just to shut up, right?
Yeah.
I wish I knew that verse when I was a kid. Like, I wanted something like, hey, you know what, Mom and Dad, the Bible says.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
Because it's annoying. It would be annoying.
Jesus says to be
Have
annoying.
you seen that Disney movie Cool Runnings with the Jamaican Bob?
That's
Yes.
my all-time favorite movie, bro.
Dude, okay.
Dude, really?
Remember
Yes.
when they're trying to raise money and the guy's singing on the streets?
I give
and
you
he
$1
goes, I give
just
you
to
$1
shut
just to shut up, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's like, I got $1. I got $1.
I like the part. How about I draw a line down the middle of your head and make it look like a butt? That's just the one that I take away.
Dude, I love that. What was it? I'm a badass mother that don't give a crap about nothing. Remember that one?
Crap about nobody.
Nobody or something, dude. I gotta go watch that again. Dude, I was going through all the Disney stuff that I grew up with my kids. I'm like, Dad, you guys used to watch this? I'm like, okay, it's not the whole CGI crap anymore. Yeah, we used to have real characters and real humans playing all this stuff. Remember The Lion King when it first came out in theaters?
Yep.
Nope.
I like what 6 or 7
with
just
my
like me,
aunt.
right?
Yeah.
The Lion King was always my favorite movie, but I don't remember anything.
It was like 95, I think.
95, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, what,
I was like
6?
4 years old.
We had this theater
7.
we went to, and like they tore it down and put like a Chuck E. Cheese in its place. But that's where we saw the Lion King was at that theater.
That was the very first movie I've seen in theaters.
Yeah.
I remember
First one I remember was A Bug's Life.
That's a little after
remember
that.
that
Yeah.
But still, it was cool. But
Yeah.
so dude, like, you've had a lot of businesses. I'm pretty sure you've had ups, you've had downs. Has it always been good?
No.
Share some struggles with us, like honestly, because people watching, I know that they know our stories if they've been watching episode 1 all the way through, but like, it hasn't always been good. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're not always going to have it good. You're testing and measuring, and there's also some very scary moments. Like, can you share some of those impactful, scary moments with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably like finances, right? So a lot of it is, I think, finance based just across the board.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what business is, right? You're trying to make money.
Make the numbers work.
Yep. And so, I mean, there's been times where we haven't, had food, or we've been behind on our rent not rent, but I'm thinking like, Jared again, rent.
Millennial? Walking around here like you rent this place?
We're behind on the mortgage, things like that. And, it's tough. And you're like, man, what, we've thought about me switching careers several times. In fact, when I moved up here, I worked at Quick Trip, for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Quick Trip.
I get my Celsiuses there and my little taquitos, you know what I'm saying?
So,
Yeah. I had a cold taquito today. I was like, dang it. They didn't put that sign out. They didn't say.
They fall.
They didn't
they
say
fall
like.
sometimes. Or,
Yeah, I don't know. It was like, this one looks like the best one. It doesn't look overcooked.
It's cold.
And it was cold.
bro. So little thing, like
back to your
I was a
story.
night assistant. I was a night assistant manager, right? And so you have like at 2:00, you're supposed to clean all the grills, okay, the roller grills, and so I try not to be, I always would put some on, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour beforehand, because when 2:00 came, you're cleaning the grills, you're supposed to throw them all away. So I'd put on a couple, what I feel like some steak taquitos. So I'm going to put a couple extra of those on. That way, when I go to clean the grills, I got some hot, fresh taquitos. Eat a couple of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is normally very ethical.
But,
So-
I hope nobody from Quick Trip's watching this video.
They probably will be. But
But I mean, and then like just marriage wise, man, it caused a lot of fights and stuff. And that gets hard sometimes, because you're like, and I tell you, like, from a man's perspective, okay, when you don't have that support, because we're out there working, we're the main breadwinners. That's what we're called to do, to take care of our family, provide security and stuff like that. And so not only are you dealing with like, unhappy wife, who's worried, who's ticked off at you because, money's not coming in, that kind of thing. Kids are upset because, they can't go do fun things. You're not home.
you're not home
spending
all the time. Yeah.
And even despite all those hours, a lot of times, like, I wasn't making money. And it's like, I'm working 90 hours a week. Why are we still struggling to get by?
I've heard that one before.
And,
many times,
and then there's the weight. Those are all like the physical things that are happening to you, right? So kids are upset at you. Your wife's upset at you. The money is not there. So rents, people are calling about that for the mortgage. But then just the weight of like being a man and like, man, like, this is embarrassing. This is, this sucks that I can't provide for my family, or that my family's struggling, or that I hate owing people money, that kind of thing, where my mortgage is not up to date. So, you're being hit from the physical and a mental, aspect. And so it's it goes back to that persistence, like you were saying. You just you're gonna have those lows. We get, like you said, glory to glory. You're gonna have those low times, and you have to persevere and kind of set yourself up so that you can make it through those and come out on top again. And so that happened for Beth and me. We got divorced. Year and a half after having our first kid. Because I was spending all this time like working, and there wasn't much of any results to show for it.
Yeah.
And so she felt trapped, that she couldn't do anything. It'd be different if like we were back home here, but we were in Texas where she didn't know anybody. And I was working all the time. She was there with Asher, our 1-year-old, and didn't have anything. She couldn't do anything. She didn't have any friends to come hang out with her, and she felt trapped and didn't have
that must be hard for her. That must have been very hard for her.
So, and I mean, I was so focused on the business, and like one of the things you've taught me and things that we focus on is like you have to master even just your personal life as well, right? That needs to come out first. You need to pay yourself first. You
Lead
need to
yourself.
Focus on, set goals for yourself, not just for your business and what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so I was so focused on the business that I neglected, my first responsibility, which was my family. And so that was really tough to have to go through that. And, ultimately we ended up getting divorced. She moved back here and I was in Texas, running the business by myself without my family. So,
well, you're back together again. So how'd that happen?
yeah. So, I mean,
Talk about this persistence, man.
by the grace of God. That was persistence because I wouldn't leave her alone, even after we got divorced. But
I got a new
if there's
truck.
anything you can take away from Tony is just keep going. Just keep trying. That
I like
Bible
it.
verse, just keep asking.
That's got to be your life passage now.
Right.
so
Be hard-headed in a good way. Like,
well, I mean, we both ended up dating different people in between, but we ultimately started dating again. And then, one of the things Beth wanted me to try doing something else when I moved back up here. And so
that was a quick trip.
yeah.
Was that your first job?
No, I worked for, doing house flips, doing some remodeling and stuff like that.
Okay.
And they kind of overlapped. So I was doing that. And then I also got on at Quick Trip, was doing both those things, and then phased out the remodeling stuff, was doing Quick Trip and started my own business again up here. We started that in February 2020. And then I stepped down from assistant manager at Quick Trip and went to just part-time, and then ended up just picking up shifts. And then I was like, I wasn't picking up shifts for, weeks on end. And so just decided to cut that all together and just stick with the business. But,
Wow, dude.
and then eventually.
That is a wild story.
Yeah.
I could just imagine my wife dumping me like that. That would suck. But
Well, it's crazy
that's
you did it.
kind of cool that you guys got back together and remarried now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
You don't
and
hear
so-
that a lot. And
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just
has it been pretty ever since you guys got remarried, or
no, it hasn't. But I think the cool thing is, we started dating again, got remarried, and just been able to. We've learned, right? Kind of like you talked about success, learning from your failures, learning from your mistakes. So now we're able to communicate better. We're able to work things out better. She understands that, sometimes things are tough. They're not tough like they were before, but sometimes we got to grind them out harder, right? We're in the busy season. We're in the tough area, and we get that in, we get that done, and, now we're having more kids and trying to catch up to Joe, but it's
just one more, baby. You can catch up fast now. I'm done. So,
Joe just looks at her.
But yeah, I mean,
dude, I said that. Yeah, I can look at my wife and she get her pregnant. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's a great trick, but it's horrible because every time I do look at her, she gets pregnant. Yeah, so that's hilarious. Well, like, if there's maybe some wisdom you can give us and the audience of like what you learned through that. Like one thing I've learned is how persistent and hard-headed you are in a good way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because another way of saying that is, what would you tell your past self? Or like, when you're in the middle of it, what would you say to that person?
So one thing I also do, that I love as a passion of mine is climbing mountains.
Oh yeah.
right? And so this is I'll bring this to a head, but like last January I went to South America to climb Aconcagua, which is the tallest mountain in South America, and I ended up getting. So I mean I was in fantastic shape, probably best shape I've been in a long time, right? And so, but I developed, traveled down there for a couple of days. I developed some kind of sinus infection. And then I hiked through 3 days of rain, which is unheard of in that area. Like our 4 guides, with 10 to 16 years of experience each, hadn't had any rain, in all the trips that they led up the mountain, right? But we had 3 days of rain while we were hiking to base camp. And I got sick, ended up getting fluid in my lungs. And
That's pneumonia.
Whoa.
so I had like high altitude pulmonary edema and just got a whole bunch of fluid in there. They had me resting. And then the rest of the team was carrying up to base camp a few days later. And then while they were not to base camp, to Camp 1. And while they were gone, I went to the doctors called me in again to check because they have two doctors on staff at the base camp. And they're like, we got to get you out of here. And so within 30 minutes, I had a helicopter there, and we're shipping me down the mountain.
Wow.
No choice of my own.
You're helicoptered off a mountain.
Yeah.
You would have probably kept going, knowing
So,
you.
I mean,
You would have died on that
wanted to,
mountain. You know what I'm saying?
but bringing that around, like the mountain's always going to be there, right?
Yeah.
So, there's always going to be difficulties in business. You're always going to have struggles. Okay, there's always going to be upset customers. There's always going to be another job that needs work on, or there's always going to be another employee that doesn't show up for work. Okay, but you can't let that affect you, and you can't keep trying to push through those things and not be wise about them. Okay, so if I had kept going on that mountain, the mountain that's always going to be there, then I mean I could have gotten myself hurt. I could have gotten my team hurt.
That's a good way of saying it.
And I had to realize, I need to get down now because, otherwise I'm going to suffer, or I might make other people suffer. And so, same thing in business. You've got to do the wise thing, make the wise choice, look at the situation and know, there's always going to be another challenge. You don't have to freak out about this one. You don't have to do something crazy or stress about it. And that's one of the things I've been trying to do, like especially on the weekends, is unless it's an absolute emergency, I don't need to worry about that problem. I can spend some time focusing on my family and doing things with them.
Dude, that's good.
And because I can pick up where I left off on Monday. The problem will either work itself out or it'll be there and we can handle it like we need to. And so
I'm hearing you in like a micro sense, or very specific is what I mean. Because I get in this zone. And once I'm in the zone, everything is 10x efficiency. And then during that zone, I forget about the clock, whatever. But I had to learn to be more interruptible so that way I can stop what I'm doing no matter how bad my brain wants to complete it or get to a better stopping point.
That's good.
And that was very hard, like working on projects. It's still hard to this day, but I did get better at it now. And there's only been a few times I'm like home late from this or something.
Like tonight?
Well, tonight was communicated, so that's good.
Yeah. I've actually been way better on my weekends too, because like I said, for a minute, even as a coach, I started getting into that toxic thinking of hustle, grind. Then I looked at all the early mornings I woke up and all the late nights. I was like, the activity I did there while I was super tired, did that really make a difference in anything? And I'm like, no, it actually didn't. And look, if you're single or you have kids that are, cool, do that. I got to be there for my wife and my kids. Like, I got to minister to them and make sure they're good. Well, so that mountain is always there for me too, right? Like, I can hustle and grind like that later if I want to. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think another thing too, so this kind of goes back to that conversation I mentioned about with the other gentleman, Luther Chandler, shout out to him with Accent Roofing. But we were doing the sprinkler install for him. But he's like, man, I have a business. I know there's going to be labor challenges. And so for like people in the trades industry, that's a constant challenge. I mean, I know it's a challenge elsewhere, but, so if you're setting that expectation with customers up front, on bigger projects, like, hey, the labor market's tough right now. I'm going to do my best to have my guys out here to taking care of you. But, there's a chance something may happen, but I'm going to keep you informed. I want to set this expectation now.
Yeah.
And so I failed to do that with Luther. And he, talked that he's amazing at like communicating, over communicating, customer support, setting expectations. These are all things I took notes and I'm starting to implement in my systems, right away, just after this conversation with him this week. And so it's, if you can set that ahead of time, you're already kind of preemptively, setting yourself up for success, and not having to stress about things over the weekend or even projects on a day-to-day basis because you already have that mindset. Okay, I'm going to expect that maybe I'll have some struggles, but if I don't, that's fantastic, and we're going to surprise the customer even more. But, if we do have those struggles, then we're all prepared for that, and we can still better serve our customers.
Awesome. Dude, some really good takeaways from your story, your business experience. The mountain will always be there. Yeah. How hard-headed you really need to be to get what you want. You know what I mean? Like
even borderline annoying.
Tips and tricks for those of you who work at Quick Trip.
Yeah, don't get a cold taquito.
Yeah, don't get a cold taquito.
When you use the tongs, you don't know.
If you're going to clean the little rollers at 2 o'clock, put some extra taquitos on there so you can eat it. Right? I got that one. Hey, I kind of want to work at Quick Trip just to do that now. So.
I used to work at Pizza Hut, and I used to do something similar. It's like, oops, we made an extra. Hey, there's an extra pizza. All right, I'll eat it.
So, anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Entrepreneur Experience with our special guest, Tony DiLillo. I call him Tony D, right?
Yeah. So, Tony, how can people follow you? Yeah. Or how can they support you for listening?
So, Facebook, Legacy Lawns KC, or Instagram, the Trekkin' Texan.
The Trekkin' Texan.
So
I thought, knowing you, I thought you would have been like the delicious Texan or the. That's
I'm delicious, but yeah.
Knowing your personality, you'd probably
LegacyLawnsKC.com. Building legacy.
Yeah,
your lawn, our legacy.
There you go.
Nice,
I love that. Well, Jared, you've also been a fantastic co-host. JT Visuals, Without the I, everything video production and marketing. You do it. I like that.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
And you've been great as well. We've referenced a lot of things from Action Coach, but I'll tell you specifically, if you have a choice and you're in the area, choose Joe over all the other ones.
I appreciate that. No. I didn't pay these guys to say it either yet. But.
No, Joe's phenomenal. He's a big piece of everything. So definitely, get in his circles. It's worth it. He gives so much value, even if you just look at him.
You just look at the hair and wish you had that, right? So
yeah, and I'm real excited. We got depending on when you're listening to this, we have something he does quarterly, where it's not just motivation, but it's a workshop. And it's called Growth Club.
Yeah,
Growth Club. If you're in the Kansas City area, I'm really excited.
Hey, even if you're not, if you want to fly out over here, just let us know, man.
True.
So, go to Action Coach South Kansas City. Oh, sorry, ActionCoachKansasCity.com. Go to the events page, and I got stuff in California, stuff here, stuff everywhere. So yeah.
Tony, you go to those a lot, right?
Oh, I'm constantly at Growth Club. I love it. Bring my team, and so it's a great opportunity.
When his wife comes, she slaps him across the head all the time now. It's hilarious watching that. I'm always watching you and your wife interact. It's hilarious, dude.
I'm always watching.
So I have said
just like watch me get beat. That's all.
You do. No, it's more because I have this interactive slide and he put some stupid stuff up there, and she's like, "Stop it!"
I messed one up. It was me. I messed one up on purpose because I think it was set up and it was supposed to just be one that you read and you weren't looking for results and answers. But I saw that there was a type in it and I typed in something. And then that slide went away. So then it messed you up.
No,
you're like, wait, what?
Tony did some very specific, and then he's just back there laughing. I'm like, so I called him out, and then I saw his wife just nudge him. I'm like, oh, I just got him in trouble. So it's all right. Well, guys, as always, stay strong.
And keep on keeping on.
All right.